should we still be reading Margaret Atwood? Margaret Atwood has recently posted a
bunch of questionable material, let's call it that.
It all started off a little over a week ago when she shared an article by
some woman, TERF,
in the Toronto Star,
which we have broken down into its TERFy goodness in another video, which we'll link in the show.
Now, this caused a big backlash on Twitter with people saying, Margaret, you can't be a TERF.
Oh no!
The thing is, with Margaret Atwood, she has a history with trans people, and that history is to be a trans activist.
In the face of J.K. Rowling's diatribe, Margaret Atwood was one of many authors who signed a petition, essentially, in support of trans rights and trans visibility. She's also trolled the New York Times for their anti-trans status by giving them interview content that they only posted on their website for a day. If you read the articles about that particular incident, it is an enjoyable little chuckle. She also sent her interviewer medical journals and supporting content that were aimed at undoing transphobic viewpoints. She has been on, the winning team.
I wouldn't call it the winning team. I'd call it the right team.
The correct team. For a while now. So to see her share an article that is gross, and it is gross, was shocking.
The original article that Atwood shared, there are two things that have really sort of stood out since the conversation has
evolved
continued
and gone on.
That is, firstly, the article makes reference to the changing of a Ruth Bader Ginsburg speech to change...
woman to person, essentially.
And Atwood does not like the changing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's words. I think we can see that Atwood is... I think she's 81 at the time of film.
Yeah, I definitely, when I see this emotional reaction to this change, I feel like she's thinking about her own legacy in years to come.
I don't think that topic necessarily needs to go into the transphobic.
No. I think the problem is that you can't pretend that Margaret Atwood is tone deaf enough or unaware of language enough to share this entire article, which was a diatribe against trans people. It was horrible, just for that one point.
Well, the other point that she seemed...
Especially when there's other articles online about it.
Atwood has come out and said that Rosie McSomething or other is not a TERF, which is something that I just don't agree with her on.
No.
She's actually upset with the erasure of the word woman. The reason that she has given in a further tweet is that you can now no longer say that men are dictating what a woman's body...
That sentence is no longer valid.
That men can't legislate for a woman's body. It loses its impact if you say people can't legislate for other people's bodies. I don't know if it does, actually.
For a woman who makes her living in writing, try a little bit harder. Cis men can't legislate for uteruses. If you want to be inclusive, but you want to say woman, you just need to say woman and. Trying to create blanket rules for all situations is only ever going to play into the hands of bigots.
There's something here that we haven't considered. When we post something on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, people tend to think that you are expressing your thoughts and your opinions rather than opening up a conversation and a discussion. I just wonder if this is what Margaret Atwood is trying to do here.
I definitely wonder if this post has been treated as an endorsement rather than a discussion starter. Even as a discussion starter, I personally wouldn't be giving a megaphone to this article because it was rank. But that would make me feel a little bit better if that was her mindset, I guess. Is it possible to have these conversations about whether we should be using woman in a general sort of way in specific situations? Can we have these conversations in a trans-safe environment? Because they only seem to occur in transphobic environments, which does mean that anyone who is trans-supportive but wants to talk about the linguistics of the situation and have that honest conversation rather than have the conversation as a dog whistle to other transphobes, how do we make the space trans safe and still have that conversation? I do think that is at the core of what Margaret Atwood is trying very badly to do.
One of the things that has definitely changed in society over the last 20 years, but specifically in the last 5 years, is more and more people are identifying as a non-binary gender. This is clearly a trend. I hate to say the word trend with it, but it's clearly...
You don't mean as in trendy. It is clearly a progression.
I think when people see people that have similar identities to them. There's
That's what I am.
And it's sort of like an avalanche, you know. It just takes a stone to become and this has really gained momentum with people figuring out and seeing themselves and similar identities. And that is going to change the way that people who identify as, say, male or female gender see the world, and it's going to affect language.
Even as a cis woman, the sort of coming into the public eye of non-binary people really changes the way that I feel and interact with my own gender in ways that I had never considered before that was a thing. I think that's exciting. Non-binary brethren are going to lead us into the future of gender politics, in my opinion. I feel like we've been bashing at this wall for 150 years, and non-binary people have come along and gone, no wall. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's really exciting. But I also think that people have been working really hard at bashing down that wall are like, but the wall is actually...
I still think that there is a wall.
No, there is. There's legitimately, like, pay gap and, like, and this impacts non-binary people too. I'm not saying that the creation of non-binary as an option disintegrates all the problems that we have between the genders.
Feminism needs to embrace more complex gender statuses, and it might mean that feminism disintegrates and that we have this genderism or something. I don't know, it's a horrible term, but like at the heart of feminism is not discriminating against people for their gender.
I also think that Margaret Atwood is already known for not being super intersectional in her position. She's not very good at decentering white women and centering people of colour.
She's not very good at decentering people like herself.
People like herself. And I feel like maybe that's a skill she hasn't built up, because she clearly intellectually supports the idea of trans and non-binary people, but she doesn't know how to actually support them. And I think that's because she's never actually enacted support of people of colour and things in the lead up. And so her intersectional skills are shitful.
I think that this is an entire another video, but authors should write what they know best. And who do you know best if it's not yourself?
And how do you be intersectional?
And how do you combine those things? Yeah, exactly.
I only would be very interested to put Margaret Atwood in a room full of trans and non-binary people and have her talk it out.
Yeah.
Because I think that she would learn. I think she's actually open to learning and discussing. Feminists of her generation, none of them so far have really. They've either just like, oh yeah, I get it, or they've absolutely built themselves a fortress of transphobia.
I think that there's another thing in here. If Margaret Atwood is open to learn, and she's been clumsy and made mistakes and done dumb things, we're not giving her, if we cancel her, if we boycott her...
Yeah, she's literally still in the middle of the conversation.
We're not giving her the chance to figure it out. This is the danger if we act too quickly. And therefore, like, people like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who said some stuff, then said some other stuff that sort of took it away, and then reiterated the first stuff that she said.
Yeah.
And everybody's sort of like, we should have known about it early on. But, we should have known about it early on. But I think that was actually the right process to go through, to give Chimamanda the space to learn. And okay, she got it wrong, and
we hope for the best.
But you have to give people the chance to learn and to figure this stuff
I definitely
out.
think that we're starting to develop a category of sort of, not just authors, but like public figures who are on like this internal sort of watch list of which way you're going to fall. Are you going to be a good person at the end of this little journey you're having, or are you not? And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to put them on, what's the word I'm looking for? Probation.
Probation.
You know what I mean?
But I think we have seen authors go both ways on this. We have seen somebody like Riordan was criticised for not including anybody of colour in his novels. And then he was criticised for having bad representation. Then he took that criticism and he learnt from it. And clearly, he's coming from a long way back, but every step of the criticism, he's learnt from it.
Yeah, you got to give them time.
You've got to give him credit for being willing to do the hard yards and to learn.
It's what a not horrible person does.
Yeah.
So I mean, as far as giving them cookies, I don't know, but like, let's not cancel
but so
them.
many people in this universe are horrible that being not horrible is often
sometimes
the
you get
mark for
cookies.
me.
Yeah, I've been reading Margaret Atwood with one eye on who's missing for the whole time I've been reading Margaret Atwood, and I think that will continue for me, in part because I already own all her books, so it's not a question of whether I will continue to fund her at this point, but that I think is everyone's personal choice. I'm really interested if this has changed how you view where she's coming from. I don't think this is so different to how she is with people of colour. I think she's not very good at understanding that I'm not free until my sister is free too, as like the core of intersectional feminism. And I hope that she learns that.
Faith that Atwood will learn and improve. I do think that she's trying to have a conversation rather than putting forth her opinions. As somebody who has posted stuff on YouTube and has been criticised for having a conversation and people thinking that was
the end of
my opinion,
Yeah.
that is...
This is my ruling on the subject.
That is something
we don't have those.
That there is definitely... That she is definitely asking questions that she wants to engage in conversation and hear. Just because she has a big platform doesn't mean she's preaching.
But I do think that she could have been more careful in making that obvious. And I hope that one of the things that she's learned from this is that she does have a fucking big platform, and sometimes that includes the responsibility of when you share a stupid article saying, I'm not saying this is correct, I just want to talk about it.
So we definitely want to treat this as a conversation video, so let us know what you think in the comments. Go check out what Atwood has posted on Twitter and catch up with the conversations. And if you're not aware of the article that she posted that sparked this whole controversy, click here. Discussion.
We go through it so you don't have to go behind the paywall.